So Patrick Mahomes does it. He wins his second Super Bowl in 3 tries, defeating the Philadelphia Eagles, who were the league's best team all year long. Say what you want about the NFC. I'm seeing this now. Of course, after the fact, it's coming out that, were the Eagles really that good, or were they just beating up on the NFC? Nobody was saying that all year. So let's give him his credit. Patrick Mahomes does it. Another Super Bowl win, another Super Bowl MVP, all while re-injuring that ankle again in this game. And if you remember, when he got rolled up on and limped off the field, and they showed that shot of him on the sidelines, he looked like he was hurting. So, more and more credit to him for that. But credit to both teams. I mean, this was one of the most fun Super Bowls in recent years. To watch for a fan, and I'm sure for them to play as players. I mean, the way it ends, 38-35, back and forth action the entire time. Both quarterbacks showing off. Jalen Hurts, he was unbelievable, rushing for 3 touchdowns. I think he tied the Super Bowl record. Not for a quarterback, just tied the record. I think it was Terrell Davis had the record for the Denver Broncos. So that ending sequence with the holding call, was it holding, was it not? It resulted in, Harrison Butker being able to kick the game-winning field goal for Kansas City. I don't even want to get too much into that. James Bradbury was the defender on that play. He was interviewed after the game and he admitted it. He said, yeah, I tugged his jersey. I held him. I was hoping the refs would kind of bite their whistles there at the end. To his credit, a lot of times later in the playoffs, whether it's NFL, NBA, the NHL with hockey, that's absolutely the things refs do at times. They let them play a little bit more, but they called this one and it resulted in the game-winning field goal. Bradbury knew he held, regardless of how hard or not. They were getting beat on that play all game long. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about that. Look, unbelievable game from both teams. And the Chiefs just found a way to get it done. Similar to years ago when they found a way to get past the Buffalo Bills. Or not years ago, last year. Buffalo Bills, 13 seconds left, they get the ball back. We know what happens there. Mahomes drives them down to win it. This one just felt, it had similar moments. That Mahomes run when he was on one leg, picking up, I think, close to 30 yards, to really get them in position, again, to be able to win this game and win their second Super Bowl here in the Mahomes era. And now, in 5 years, 5 AFC championships, all at home, which is ridiculous. And they've got 2 out of 3 rings. Now, it would have been a little dicey if they lose this game. Then, all this Mahomes praise maybe turns into, okay, he's sub 500 in Super Bowls. But now we don't have to worry about that. Or now Kansas City fans don't have to worry about that. 2-1 in 3 tries in Super Bowls, and who knows where they're going from here. People are saying it. This was the year to beat the Chiefs. Right? The Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill, and the rest of the teams in the AFC West kind of loaded up. They thought this was their year. The Raiders go get Devontae Adams. The Broncos go get Russell Wilson. That didn't work out too well, but at the time it was looking like they were picking up a top 5 quarterback. And then the Chargers, that is one of the strongest teams roster-wise in the league. Justin Herbert getting better every year. Khalil Mack now, Joey Bosa, they've got those receivers. Derwin James is finally healthy. So it looked like this was going to be the year to take the Kansas City Chiefs out. And not only do they win the division, but they go and win the Super Bowl in the end too. So is this the team to beat in the league? Absolutely. They have been for a while. Now they just put the cherry on the top. And is it a dynasty? Are there rules for having a dynasty? I keep hearing, you got to win 3. You got to win 3. Why? Do I think they will win 3? Probably. Has it happened yet? No. They've been to 3. They've won 2. But they can't be considered a dynasty until they win 3? I just go by the eye test. Every time I watch the Chiefs, they look like the better team. Every year, the past handful of years since Mahomes has been on the field, they go into the season as the favorites or right off the favorites, and at some point in the year they end up being the favorites. And just eye test. They're the best team in the league. They've been the best team in the league for 5 years. Do they have to win another one to be a dynasty? I don't think so. I think we're already there. I think they'll win another one regardless. They may win even more. But the Chiefs are the best team we've seen in a very, very long time. And now they're Super Bowl champs. So was that fight of the year already in 2023? Volkanovski and Makhachev? I think so. I mean, what's going to beat that? And not only what's going to beat that in terms of just back and forth competitiveness, because you can have that at any stage of the rankings, right? You could have an unbelievable fight between the 14th and 15th ranked guys and have that be a competitor. But with all things considered, pound for pound number 1 in the world, pound for pound number 2 in the world, in their primes, in Australia, in the backyard of the pound for pound number 1, Alexander Volkanovski. When was the last time we've seen a fight like that? These fights usually don't happen. Usually if we do see these big names, these fights that we've wanted to see forever, if they pan out, it'll be a little bit too late. One of them will be a little bit too old. They'll both be past their primes. Maybe one of them's lost their belt. But not this time. I mean, this was as good as it gets. Both guys showed off in the other man's world, if that makes any sense. Makhachev showed that he can strike a little bit. And I know he's got some power before he knocked down Charles Oliveira, but this fight was on the feet a lot more than a lot of people thought, I'm sure. And Makhachev cracked him, Volkanovski that is, multiple times. And Volkanovski showed that he can wrestle. We knew he could wrestle, but I guess I'd put it, he could wrestle against these Dagestani wrestling monsters, right? I mean, who's been able to do anything on the ground with Islam before, or Habib, or any of their team? Yeah, he got taken down. I think it was 4 takedowns on 9 attempts for Islam. Yes, he had some very, very strong positions, right? He had his back. He had Volkanovski's back. He was trying to threaten for a choke at one point. But credit to Alex Volkanovski. He seemed super comfortable at all times on the ground. Never seemed like he was in over his head. Never seemed like he was overpowered. And that was one thing that everyone was talking about. And you saw it in the face-off too. When these guys faced off, Volkanovski's looking up at him like he's a giant. Because he was way bigger than him. And everyone's saying, these guys are super strong. They're bigger than you. And they're just going to hold you down, ground and pound, find your neck, choke you out, get you out of there. And we saw that when Islam fought Charles. But in this one, Volkanovski proved everything he was going to say, everything he was saying, that he is a strong guy. That, yeah, he played rugby back in the day, and he played it against people that were bigger than Islam, and he showed it. Yeah, he got taken down, he got controlled, but there were many times where he stuffed takedowns. Islam had him half down, and he muscled his way back up. And he really just... Volkanovski's stock couldn't be higher right now, despite the loss. To me, it looked like Islam had won the first 2 rounds and the 4th round. So heading into the 5th round, I thought that Volkanovski needed a finish. And he dominated that round, but he didn't get that finish. So when the fight ended, I thought that Islam won the fight. I thought that it was an unbelievable performance by both guys. Volkanovski really showed out. Islam was super impressive as well. And it's a fight that I absolutely would want to see again. But I'm seeing after people giving that 2nd round to Volkanovski. I gave the 3rd and 5th to Volk. If you give the 2nd to him as well, then he wins 3 rounds and he should have won the fight. And that's what he thought happened. That's what a lot of people thought happened. There's that clip going around of Joe Rogan. He was doing a fight companion with Brendan Schaub and some of those other guys that that are well versed in the world of mixed martial arts. And when the fight ended, when that last bell went, they were convinced Volkanovski won the fight. They were convinced. They were high-fiving. They were, oh, he did it. He overcame the beast. Oh my gosh. And when it was announced that Islam won the fight, they were like mind blown. And who knows, right? At first glance, like I said, I'd have to watch it again myself. I'd given it to Islam. Rogan and all those other guys that know better than me thought Volkanovski. So I think that means we need a rematch. When do we see it though, right? Because Volkanovski now, he's supposed to go back down to 145 because the interim belt happened right before his fight. It was Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. Yair Rodriguez comes out on top, submitting Josh Emmett from the bottom. Super impressive from him, considering when you go back to Yair's fight with Max Holloway, Max by no means is considered a wrestler, and Max was trying to take advantage of the wrestling department a few times during that fight, which, led at least me to believe in the moment that, okay, Yair's got no wrestling, to the point where Max is trying to exploit an advantage that he doesn't really have against most guys anyways. But in this one, he's shown that at least submission-wise, he's dangerous, which I think adds a little bit of a wrinkle now to a potential fight with Volkanovski, because both men will probably want to keep it on the feet. Volkanovski's unbelievable on the feet. Yair, of course, that's his world. Some of the most creative striking we've seen in a long, long time coming from Yair Rodriguez. But I'm thinking back to the second fight between Volkanovski and Max Holloway, where Max was kind of getting the better of Volkanovski on the feet, where Alex decided he was going to try to take it to the ground to exploit a bit of an advantage there. So what if that happens? What if Yair starts doing well on the feet? He's getting those kicks up quick. His striking's fast. It's precise. He's strong, and this guy can strike. What if he starts having some success? Volkanovski, what if he finds himself behind in a round or two and decides that I'm going to try to steal a round back here by taking him to the ground? Well, now we know the submission threat from Yair Rodriguez. Am I saying that's going to happen? Not necessarily. Now I'm just bringing stuff to thought here. But either way, Volkanovski is supposed to go back to 145 and have that fight with Yair first before any potential rematch with Islam. What does Islam do in the meantime? Is that what happens at 45? Do they get the immediate rematch? Does he maybe vacate the 145 belt to Yair instead of challenging him because he wants that rematch right away? What happens? I don't know. It's going to take a while for us to probably get an announcement on any of this. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, John Jones, he's up next.